भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। um, okay, so don't remember which verse it is. Let's see. Waiting for Kavya Prabhu to join in. Hare Krishna, Rukmini Priya Mataji. Mataji, do you remember which verse we stopped yesterday?
Yeah, we finished the 4 ashrams, so 7, 11, and we did Brahmacharya Vaishya Sudra. So
But this part about women and all you didn't do, right?
yeah, no, so we did up to 24. Up to 24.
Okay, 25 then. Okay. Srinam chapati devanam Tatshushru shanukulata tadbandhusvanvrittischa nityam tadvratadharanam. To render service to the husband, to be always favorably disposed towards the husband, to be equally well disposed toward the husband's relatives and friends, and to follow the vows of the husband. These are the 4 principles to be followed by women described as chaste. Okay. Purport. It's very important for peaceful householder life that a woman follow the vow of her husband. Any disagreement with the husband's vow will disrupt family life. In this regard, Chanakya Pandit gives a very valuable instruction. Dampatyo kalaho nasti tatra shri swayam agatha. When there are no fights between husband and wife, the goddess of fortune automatically comes to the home. A woman's education should be conducted along the lines indicated in this verse. The basic principle for a chaste woman is to be always favorably disposed toward her husband. In Bhagavad Gita 140, it is said, Strishu dusta suvarshneya jayate varna shankaraha. If the women are polluted, there will be varna shankara population. In modern terms, the varna shankara are the hippies who do not follow any regulative injunctions. Another explanation is that when the population is varna shankara, no one can know who is on what platform. The Varnashrama system scientifically divides society into 4 Varnas and 4 Ashrams. But in the Varna Shankara society, there are no such distinctions, and no one can know who is who. In such a society, no one can distinguish between a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, and a Shudra. For peace and happiness in the material world, the Varnashram institution must be introduced. The symptoms of one's activities must be defined, and one must be educated accordingly. Then, spiritual advancement. will automatically be possible. I just want to share before Prabhu joins in. I had like a situation where I didn't do this. My husband, my husband had some idea of how communication should be, and I had my own independent thinking, and I said, "No, but why we should tell this person? We should tell somebody about this person." And then we, exactly as this verse says, the peacefulness was gone because I was trying to do that. And it took me like quite some time to realize that, men have that ego, and it's better to just sometimes just go along without being too emotionally affected, or I know not to see it like, oh, there's that. My grandmother used to do that. Just do what is necessary practically, don't take it too emotionally. Very, it's very balanced game. It's a game. It's like a game, dealing with men.
Right.
Sometimes men are like children, they just have this ego, and we need to make them. My grandmother used to often say, I have to tell this before Prabhu joins. Um, my grandmother used to say, like, make them feel like they are in control, you know,
Mm.
make them feel. And so she used to say, that's the feminine power. Because
Ah, okay, okay.
usually,
Yeah.
modern day, we appear to be very strong externally. I have my own opinion, I'm independent, and you have, like, we are a little bit very externally strong, but internally we are weak. But traditional times, like I'm thinking of my grandmother, externally she will appear little weak. She will say, yeah, yeah, you're right. You're only Indra, you're only Chandra, you're only Devendra, you're only everything. You're great. Yeah, 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 very nice. but then, but then she would be very strong inside, and she would know that Krishna is the real controller. So it's like that. Modern day, it's about external strength and internal weakness, whereas traditional times, a woman knew how to be. I don't know. I feel like it requires a lot of inner strength to be able to do that, to make the husband feel comfortable, etc. If we get triggered easily and all, it's hard, when we ourselves are not emotionally. Yeah.
Yeah. But this part that says that the third sentence that
Sorry.
sorry,
Go back here. Mm.
that when there are no fights between husband and wife, God
Mm.
is a fortune automatically. I mean, I don't believe in fighting either because I'm very I don't like confrontation. I don't like fighting. But when you have to have some point of view, you have to get your point of view across
Mm.
when certain things needs to be said. So because if you don't I feel I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. If you don't express what's in your heart, then it festers. So
Yeah.
there what is the balance between expressing your heart and not causing fights? Like maybe Prabhu can share something.
What's the question?
As we
Then-
said, the
yeah, go
verse,
ahead.
the verse is speaking about the importance of husband and wife not fighting, and the woman should follow the vow of her husband. Any disagreement with husband's vow will disrupt the family life. And Chanakya Pandit says that there should be no fight between husband and wife, then goddess of fortune will automatically come to the house.
Mm-hmm. So you want
So,
me to comment on that?
yeah, you heard what Rukmini Premataji said about expressing opinion. Yeah.
Well, in fact, there is even uh, much more in what Narada Muni is going to say in uh, in text 28. I don't know if we can cover it today, but in text 28, Narada Muni clearly explains, and Srila Prabhupada elaborates that a woman should not serve a fallen husband. And Srila Prabhupada clearly says that the fallen husband should be given up. We'll get there. So yes, there shouldn't be, in general. In other words, there shouldn't be an atmosphere of conflict, an atmosphere of constant confrontation. or constant power struggle, definitely that's really creates a hellish life in family life. At the same time, it doesn't mean that the a woman doesn't have a brain or doesn't have principles, values, and if the husband is completely unqualified, it's not that the woman needs to follow him. So of course that it's we'll see in text 28. It's not that the immediate the first sign of weakness by the husband that the wife goes away, but Narada Muni is also talking about that. So we'll get there. So we'll give a more we'll
Okay.
get a more complete picture of the different
Yeah.
options.
Okay. I mean, somebody likes to read this verse.
You mean what, 26, 27?
Mm.
Hmm.
I'll try, but it's a little tough for me. It's Samarjana Upalena Bayam Upalayam Gramananda Varanatai Swayam Cha Mandita Nityam Parimarsha Parichadara Kameruvacha Sadvi Prashnena Damena Cha Vakya Satya Priyaya Premna Kali Kali Bhajit Patim. Translation. A chaste woman must dress nicely and decorate herself with golden ornaments for the pleasure of her husband, always wearing clean and attractive garments. She should sweep and clean the household with water and other liquids so that the entire house is always pure and clean. She should collect the house paraphernalia and keep the house always aromatic with incense and flowers, and must be ready to execute the desires of her husband. Being modest and truthful, controlling her senses, and speaking in sweet words. A chaste woman should engage in the service of her husband with love according to time and circumstances.
Yeah, also, you see, one thing I think we need to understand, these are very delicate and complex thing, potentially controversial and potentially uh, confusing. My point is this: the women and the men that Narada Muni is talking about, many times they don't exist anymore. Um, see, women were not going to school, were not going to Gurukul, at least in the phase of the Vedic culture. Very ancient Vedic culture, they will also go to Gurukul. They will also get the Upanayana and all that. But let's say in traditional historical India, they will not do that. So you have, and they will also marry very, very young. So the concept, the dharma, the concept of being a woman means that, okay, when you're 12, 13, you're married and you start having babies. And you're very happy because that's what it's your identity. And you have a husband who might have been in Gurukul for 20 years. Say he's 25, has been in Gurukul for 20 years, and you are 13, and you've never been to Gurukul. You know a lot of culture because now in the family you see all the rituals, you see all the religious thing. You heard the Mahabharata, you heard the Ramayana, so you know stuff. It's not that you are ignorant, but
Mm.
you know, and you're being trained that okay, this is your life. You know, you'll have a husband, you'll serve the husband, and it's also natural. This person is very qualified. is very, very qualified, very clean. In fact, it's called snataka. The ones who come out, they graduate from Gurukul, they're called snatakas, which literally means the one who have been baited. They're clean. They're men of character, men of responsibility, uh, men of strong values, because in Gurukul they learn all that. So for the woman, she's 13, he's 25. Naturally, he sees us as guru. It's natural. Like he's a grown-up man. She's basically still a child, and yeah, and then they have babies together, and he's taking care. He's a real provider. She doesn't need to go outside. She so she doesn't experience this. Okay, clean the house, cook and everything as a coercion. She doesn't feel as a violence. The opposite. She feels my husband is taking care. I can stay home with the kids. Very happy. It's good for the kid physically, physiologically, and also psychologically. And she's happy having these kids. And she's happy at home, and the husband fights with the world outside. Whatever he does as a teacher, as an administrator, as a vaisha, or even as an agriculturist, is outside with the bulls, with the cows, with the under the sun all day. Then he comes home, he eats what she cooked and everything. So it's a kind of these are the women and men we are talking about. But nowadays, of course, we could say, in one sense, we could say the genie is out of the box. You cannot take a woman who has the same age as the husband, for whatever cultural influences. Sometimes the woman earns more than the husband, very often, especially in ISKCON. We see in India, we see sometimes the woman is better academically, earns more than the husband, and then sometimes the husband never been even one day in Gurukul. He's just been watching pornography for 10 years. Then it's like it's a different equation. Okay, you can still say, okay, these are women, these are men, but they're different women and different men. So you can't really expect or impose. So you need to adjust because the whole social interactions are interdependent. You cannot have it's just like a guru. Um, we need to accept the guru, but the Mahabharata also says, the Gita say we need to accept the guru, which is also Gita is part of Mahabharata. But another part of Mahabharata also says that you need to reject the guru who is not capable. So yeah, guru disciple, guru represent God, the disciple should be obeyed. It's true, but it's interdependent. If the guru falls down, then that contract is not valid anymore. So similarly, yes, the woman should be like this, but it's also dependent on the caliber and the qualification of the husband. And in fact, in the next verse, we will see the Narada Muni say, you should not serve a fallen husband. So when we talk about social life, in one sense, there is nothing super fixed. There's nothing super fixed. In fact, we'll see later in the Bhagavatam, it says, a Brahmana should be a Brahmana. There are certain things that the Brahmana should do. But in case they cannot do that, then they can become a Vaishya. They can do some business. So it all depends. It all depends. No, the Shudra should be very obedient to the master. But if the master is a monster, is an exploiter, is a ruthless cutthroat, then you cannot be they cannot be obedient. So we'll see. I think the next verse will be very, very revealing. Unless somebody wants to comment something on this verse.
Well, the question then, what's the relevance of?
What's the relevance?
What's the point of reading these verses if those men and those women don't exist?
The point is that Srila Prabhupada also just said that, there should be a certain education. So we are also working eventually to recreate certain values, certain dynamics. Now, they are not absolutely irrelevant, We need to take them with a grain of salt and see how it applies to our situation. Just like Krishna says, I repeat the same analogy. Krishna says, accept the guru, right? Advidi pranipatina pariprashnena sevaya. You ask questions, you be submissive, you serve the guru. But then later in the Mahabharata, they say if the guru is fallen, you don't have to do it anymore. So it's not the one this delegitimize the other. It's like, yes, this is supposed to be the ideal. The disciple absolutely with great obedience serves the guru, but he should also see, is the guru qualified or is or is fallen? And that's why next verse Narada Muni will explain a woman should not serve a fallen husband. So there are many considerations for instance, in the when Srila Prabhupada talks about Devahuti and Kardama, he explains that the psychology of the man, the ego of the man, they suffer from he calls it superiority complex. They just want to be always on top of the situation. Just it's a male ego. Okay? So the woman should understand that and should deal with that. In other words, I remember one lady, one ISKCON lady, that she was saying, it's not a Vedic shloka, but she was saying, you need to choose. Either you want to be right or you want to have a husband. Obviously, it's not an absolute statement, but sometimes it's like that. You want a peaceful life with this man, or you want to know, and then therefore you got to kind of tolerate his ego, tolerate his anger, just for the sake of your sanity, or you want to fight back every time he goes a little off, or is frustrated from his work, from his boss. So you need to see. You need to see what tactical, what strategic lifestyle you want. Obviously, if you want the perfect man, then it's very hard. First of all, do you deserve the perfect man? I don't know. Maybe you do. But if maybe not, maybe your karma is to have this man. And maybe this man is okay with all his defects, with all his idiosyncrasies. So you got to decide. I want to become also angry. I also want to become, or maybe I tolerate. So then later on, maybe he comes and says, sorry, I was a little disturbed. So, it's a material world. You need to see. Just like you may have a job, you may not like your job 100%, but you like the job enough to want to keep it. So your husband may not be perfect. Probably will not be perfect. Probably it will not be perfect. He has so many shortcomings, but you got to decide. You want to keep this marriage together. You want to keep this family together. You want to keep these kids with the father and the mother together. So at some time you got to tolerate, just like he tolerates stuff at the office. He also doesn't love the boss, maybe, or he doesn't love the job, but he tolerates. So he tolerates the boss. You tolerate the the husband. You tolerate the kids. The kids tolerate you, and so things go move on, right? Otherwise, you can just say no, 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 no. This is not the perfection. I will not tolerate, and then everything breaks down. If you don't agree, please express yourself. I mean, it's not that.
It's good as a principle, but practically, today I was with some of my friends. They're not Indians.
What principle? Sorry, what principle?
Principle that like what we're just reading, we like even what you said, put up with the person. It's very nice, it's very ideal, etc. I saw my grandmother doing it and etc. My parents doing it, but I don't see it happening around me. At least around me, like today we were in. I don't want to give details, but today we had some little program like that with my students, and they're not Indian origin. And the one lady, she already got rid of two husbands because the second one, he was not very contributing to the family. He wasn't bringing home money, so she just cut all his clothes. Literally, she just took scissors She cut all his clothes and she cut all his shoes and everything because she was unable to get rid of him. And the kid was very attached to the guy, but still she couldn't take him. She couldn't stand him. And
This was her third husband.
second,
Maybe you're talking about another person. Okay. Second husband.
yeah,
Oh,
you know the person.
and she was the third wife.
Yeah, she was the third wife of this Prabhu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so obviously these two people, beyond right or wrong, who is right, who is wrong, obviously they're apparently very dysfunctional. She already failed in 2 marriages. He already failed in 3 marriages. Obviously, there's something wrong,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's like the body. Okay, we talk about the social body. Now, if a normal body can do things like, okay, exercise, you run, a normal body can do anything. But then if sometimes the body is not normal, maybe you are paralyzed, half body is paralyzed. Maybe your legs don't work. Maybe you lost one arm. Maybe you don't have eyes. You're blind. So you cannot obviously practice the same thing you practice with the full body. You're blind. Maybe you don't have eyes and you don't have legs. Obviously that affects your experience of living, right? You need to have so many things, so many. But that's not the normal circumstance. So there are people who are, for whatever reason, karmically, upbringing, culture, you could put so many things together as reasons, but they're very damaged and they're very incapable. They're very incompetent as
I mean, that's
husband and
one
wife.
example. But then,
So, but my point is this: there are incompetent people who are not able to be grihastas. So, what is your point? My question is, what is
that's
your point?
my point is that's one example. Another lady was there. The other lady
No,
also
no, but
told
what is
her,
your point? Those are examples. There are many examples,
so
unfortunately.
many, so many examples that
What is your point?
what to do? How do
What
you?
to do? As I said, see, if you're a doctor, you go to somebody goes, a patient may have, say, a cold. Okay, so take an aspirin, take some Ayurvedic thing, sleep it off. In 2 days, you'll be all right. Somebody who has a cancer, you cannot just say, take an aspirin, sleep it off. In 2 days, you're all right. Some people will just die. You have a cancer already in the brain, already in the heart, already in the lungs, already everywhere, you'll die. And the doctor can just say, look, from what I see, you have 3 months of living. So there are people, even devotees, who are so dysfunctional in certain areas of life that they'll break up their marriage because they're just not able to keep it together. So we are talking about two things. One is like the normal diseases. Okay, you got a cut, put a band-aid. Even you break a rib, okay, in 2, 3 months will be okay. But if you have serious, no, cancer, leukemia, blindness, that's not normal situation. And you may just not be able to work as a normal human being. So some people are kind of beyond help, just like some disease are beyond help. You're going to die. You have 2 months of life. Finish. What can the doctor do? There is a joke. There is a cartoon that the doctor is seeing the person. The person is bare chested, sitting on the table of the doctor, and the doctor says, "Well, it's nothing that a little reincarnation cannot fix." In other
Yeah.
words, you got to die, and then next body you'll be okay. And some people are like that. They're just not qualified. These people basically are not qualified as Grihasta. They're not even qualified as Griyamedis. Even to be a Griyamedi, materialistic householder, you need to have some qualification. You need to be somewhat together. Yeah, you may be a materialistic guy, super attached, this, that, blah, blah, blah. Think of women, think of children at the time of death. Okay, but even to be a Griyamedi, you need some qualifications. And some people, they're not qualified even as Griyamedis. So what to do? what to do? What to do? They'll suffer. What to do? They'll suffer.
Yeah, there's so much suffering.
Yeah, there's so much suffering because people sometimes they are so sick or unwilling to cure themselves that there's not much to do. Or
Yeah.
there may be a fix, there may be a therapy, there may be a method for restoring their health, but maybe they're not willing to do it. Either they are too lazy, or they're too much ego, or they're just not qualified.
Mm.
That's what to do. It's like now the 12 steps. Some people come and they get successful, some people fail. What to do? They will die. Cirrhosis, they will die. I'm talking about alcoholics.
Mhm.
You give them a chance, and people don't take the chance. No, they go back to the bottle, and they'll die. Hare Krishna. Fortunately, life is eternal. So some people, unfortunately, don't fit within Varnashram. Don't fit within Varnashram. In fact, we will see later where this describes some people are just too sinful. They don't fit against Varnashram. They don't fit even within civilized life, within cities. They have to live in the forest because in the forest they cannot hurt anybody. They cannot live in a civilized society. So the Vedic culture is very realistic. Some people are not part of Varnashram, full stop. They're just not part. It's like in Europe, I don't know how many of you are familiar, but there are people are gypsies. No, they're called gypsies. Now it's even offensive to call them gypsies. You can't call them gypsy, you have to call them travelers or something. And their culture is they live in some sort of trailers outside the city, and what they do is just they steal. That's their not dharma, but that's what they do. They don't work, they just steal. And the children learn to steal, or they do all illegal things. And I know I've seen them. I mean, in Italy, it's full. And I remember seeing a YouTube video. They were just interviewing one of these gypsy girls, maybe 13, 15 years old. And then she was saying, no, I just steal. But then they bring you to the police. Yeah, after 2 days, they put me out. And I keep stealing. And they put me back in. And then after 2 days, I'm out. And she accepted that's her life. You follow? So those type of people are not part of Varnashram. They're lower than Shudras. So when we come to the ashram, some people are not qualified as brahmacharis. They're not qualified as Giremedi. What to speak of Vanaprastha sannyasi? We don't even go there. They're not even qualified as Grihastha, and they are not even qualified as Giremedis. They're just
Mm.
all over the place, and some people are like that.
Mm.
Just like some people not can run, some people can walk, and some people can't even walk because they don't have legs or they have paralysis. They just have wheelchairs or something.
Mm.
So they have like Special Olympics, right? There are Special Olympics for people with special disabilities. So in the ashram, we have the Special Olympics of failed families.
Mm.
It's unfortunate, but it's like that.
Mm.
They can't stay without the man, they can't stay without the woman, but somehow they choose the wrong people or they make some basic mistakes in the relation. I don't know. No, every situation is a little different.
Mhm.
You
Okay.
do- Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of sad reality. Mm.
That's a material world. That's called material world.
Mm.
It's like schooling. No, the normal thing, people go to school like that, but some people can't go to school. They're too wild. They just can't keep them in a classroom. They can't learn anything. They can't keep it in a classroom. They just disrupt the whole thing. They can't. No, the normal thing, everybody should be in school. some kids, they're too damaged that they can't stay in school.
Mm.
It's sad, but that's the reality. Okay, so I think, I mean, we only have 24 minutes, but this verse I think will be very interesting and instructive. So I don't want to say anything. Let's read. And then if anybody has questions or comment, we can discuss.
Santush,
I can read, Mataji.
please. Yeah, please, please. Yes, I think it's...
सन्तुष्टालोऽनुपादक्ष धर्मज्ञ प्रियसत्यवाक अप्रमता शुचिस्निग्धा पतिं त्वपतितं भजेत्. A chaste woman should not be greedy but satisfied in all circumstances. She must be very expert in handling household affairs and should be fully conversant with religious principles. She should speak pleasingly and truthfully and should be very careful and always clean and pure. The chaste woman should engage with affection and service of a husband who is not fallen. Purport. According to injunction of Yagya Valkya, an authority on religious principles, Ashuddhe Sampratiyaksho hi Mahapataka Dushita. One who is considered contaminated by reactions of great sinful activities when one has not been purified according to methods of Dashavida Samskara. In Bhagavad Gita, however, the Lord says, Na mam dushkritino mura prapadante naradhama. Those miscreants who do not surrender unto me are the lowest of mankind. The word naradhama means non-devotee. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also said, Yei bhaje sei bada abhakta, hina chara. Anyone who is devotee is sinless. One who is not devotee, however, is most fallen and condemned. It is recommended, therefore, that a chaste wife not associate with a fallen husband. A fallen husband is one who is addicted to four principles of sinful activity, namely illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. Specifically, if one is not a soul surrender to Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is understood to be contaminated. The chaste woman is not advised not to agree to serve such a husband. It is not that
Is
a chaste...
advised.
Oh, sorry. The chaste woman is advised not to agree to serve such a husband. It is not that a chaste woman should be like a slave while her husband is Naradhama, the lowest of men. Although the duties of women are different from those of man, a chaste woman is not meant to serve a fallen husband. If her husband is fallen, it is recommended that she give up his association. Giving up association of her husband does not mean, however, that a woman should marry again and thus indulge in prostitution. If a chaste woman unfortunately marries a husband who is fallen, she should live separately from him. Similarly, a husband can separate himself from a woman who is not chaste according to description of the Shastra. The conclusion is that a husband should be a pure Vaishnava and a woman should be chaste wife, with all symptoms described in this regard. Then both of them will be happy and make spiritual progress in Krishna consciousness.
So, any question, any comment? Any reaction to this? Sounds new, sounds surprising. I don't know. I mean, I'm familiar with this concept. I also wrote it. I also discussed this in a book. I
I have
wrote.
a question.
Okay.
So there are some women that are very pure in their intention, motivation. They want to advance in spiritual life, and they may have husbands who are also devotees, but the devotee husbands may not be so serious about spiritual life like the woman. Okay, but they're not like fallen exactly. I don't know. Description of fallen husband is little tricky also in this case. Let's say a man wants sensual pleasures and he wants to go to a vacation to some materialistic places, and he wants to spend money for something, not really going to Vrindavan or something, and the wife has devotional desires. So what should be the duty of a wife if the husband is having more materialistic desire? I specifically also like sex and things like that. So, or even the other way, it can also be the wife who may want sexual life and things, but the husband is more advanced. So either way, it's, I mean, the sex, the gender is interchangeable, but the principle being what to do if husband and wife have different goals and different standards.
Well,
Should
obviously, it's a very broad question.
Mm.
First of all, depends what standards are we say. You mentioned so many things. You mentioned sex. You mentioned vacation. You mentioned other. I mean, in general, okay. Uh, so we need to see each element. Let's say vacation. Each element and how difficult, how different they are. How different they are. One wants to go to Las Vegas, uh, or just say a touristic place, Rio de Janeiro, and the other one wants to go to Vrindavan. Okay, it's a big difference. So what can they do? What can they, and also is he how attached they are to their thing, and what is at stake? Maybe, maybe they can have separate vacation. She goes to Vrindavan, he goes to Rio de Janeiro. Then they come back with a mama in 2 weeks. That's one solution. Or maybe she say, okay, this year we go to Rio de Janeiro, but next year we go to Vrindavan. Okay, okay. Or maybe a third place which is okay, we go to Puri, so I go to the temple, you go to the beach. Okay, they come to a compromise. And also depends on the nature of person. Maybe the guy says, no, no, if you don't come to Rio, I divorce you. So the wife say, well, wait a minute, I don't want to divorce. So okay, I go to Rio. I can chant Hare Krishna anywhere. I can chant in Rio. There are nice beaches. I chant Hare Krishna. I distribute books. Okay, I wanted to go to Vrindavan, but I go to Rio. I don't have to do anything sinful in Rio. There are devotees in Rio de Janeiro. Okay, so every case, every element, every aspect is different, and how they want to play or how they can negotiate is also different. So, and this applies to everything. It applies to vacation, applies to food, applies to clothing, applies to business, applies to where they live. And so there are so many factors, cultural, psychological, relational, economic also. Sometimes,
Uh-huh.
they may have they want something, but the money is not there, or whatever. Um, Sexual, like you mentioned. So every case it's slightly different. So we cannot just make a rule. In each case, there will be costs. There will be costs because having a relation costs. It's an investment of time, energy, compromise. Now, we have to see what are they ready and willing to compromise, or how much they should compromise. Like in this case, Shila Prabhupada gives a kind of not extreme, but a solid case, a substantial case. The guy, he used the word, is addicted, right? Is
Yeah.
addicted to the four principle. In other words, all of them: illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication. But even within that, there is gradation. Like, for instance, gambling. One thing is the husband who lose all the money in say gambling, like betting on horses, betting on dogs, betting on football, or going to roulettes, like casinos. One is that. And gambling is also maybe the guy likes to buy a lottery ticket. He has got this kind of superstition, or maybe I get a lottery ticket. So it's not proper, but it's not a big gambling. So similarly, okay, what does it mean non-vegetarian? Um, Maybe it's not eats biscuits with eggs. It's not very nice, but it's not like killing a cow. So it needs to be considered. And of course, one should, as a general rule, as a general recommendation, one should take advice. Should go to a brahmana. It could be a brahmana in any tradition, like a priest, somebody they trust, a counselor, and they say, look, she wants this, I want this, it's not working, what can we do? And then they get some help. So before taking a decision, oh, if you don't come to Brindavan with me, if you go Rio, I'll divorce you. Before saying something like that, so drastic, so draconian, then you can discuss what's important for you, what is so important for you. Can you come to a middle portion? Think of the kids. So yeah, that's why there are so many marriage counselors, so many social workers, and so many judges. There is sometimes they separate where the kids will stay, with the mother, with the father. Will the father have visiting rights, like they spend the weekend with the father, or not? Sometimes the judge says you cannot see the children. You cannot see the children. You're so violent, so dangerous, you cannot even see your children. They are your children, but you cannot even see them. So there is the whole range, and these are huge issues in the world. So every case is different. Every case is different. Sometimes you have people who are separated at home, right? They are separated, but they live in the same home because whatever economically, whatever, they live separated at home. So there is a whole range of possibilities in each of these factors. So they should be discussing with a cool head. And of course, tolerance very often is the solution, or a big part of solution. If one is intolerant, I mean, in every aspect of life, then you can do anything. You cannot be in ISKCON because the type of president did this, I don't like. You cannot be have a job because no, this company is like this, I don't like. You cannot be married because the husband or the wife did this, I don't like. You can't live without tolerance.
Mm.
Anything else from anybody else? I don't know if what I said helps or clarifies or not, or brings more questions, but that's what I have to say. I mean, like this couple, which I also know, and you mentioned, I don't know, they went to some marriage counselor before, or they just decided like that in the spur of the moment. Uh, you know, no, she cut all his clothes. Is this something that some senior devotee told him, or her guru told her to do these things, or some senior counselor? Sometimes people just do stupid stuff, crazy stuff, and then of course there will be consequences. She may kind of win this battle. Oh, I kicked him out and I cut all his clothes. So now he has no broken clothes. He's rags, so he has to somehow buy new clothes. But if this is maybe in 2 years, somebody will steal all her saris or something. So there are consequences. It's not that. See, sometimes people seems to think sometimes people seems to think that within a family there is no karma. In other words, you got to be careful with everybody, but then within the family you can do anything. It's not like that. There's karma. It's not because he's your husband or she's your wife you can treat them like dirt. There is karma in that too. So sometimes people just now this lady, I'm just giving one example, cutting of clothes. Sounds like a crazy thing, frankly speaking. Why she should cut his clothes? And I'm not saying maybe he did so many other crazy things. I'm just saying sometimes people there is an escalation of conflict.
Yeah.
One does something bad, the other one does the bad, then the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad, the bad, the worse, 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 worse. And then of course then it becomes becomes a constant conflict. It becomes a constant intolerable situation.
Mm.
And this is the world. We see how the conflicts escalate. And people either because of ego or for whatever reason, they don't want to de-escalate the conflict.
Mm. But how are these principles spiritual? In the sense,
Which principle?
about husband and wife and not fighting and the wife following the husband. Why is, I mean, isn't it more like varnashram thing? Isn't bhakti beyond that, beyond people having good marriages and fights and all that?
But what do you mean by beyond?
Meaning it's independent. It's not like a divorced person is not devotional.
Not necessarily, but we saw in the first one of the first verses when Srila Prabhupada was discussing the Brahminical qualities. Remember?
Mm.
That's text number, I believe, 21. You can go and see it. Want to go and see it? Okay, I can go and see it. So if you go to text 21, which describes the symptoms of a Brahmana, Srila Prabhupada at one point say, to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, one has to become a Brahmana with the above mentioned symptoms. Very clear. Okay? And the symptoms are control of the mind, control of the senses, austerity, penance, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, knowledge, mercy, truthfulness, and complete surrender to a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you can see that there is an overlap. It's not they can say, well, that's Varnashram, No, but complete surrender is bhakti. So a Brahmana should be completely surrendered, and obviously the devotee is supposed to be surrendered to God, different degrees, but complete surrender. And I repeat, to make advancement in Krishna consciousness, one has to become a Brahmana with the above mentioned symptoms. So, Grihastha life, sometimes there are cases in which divorce is necessary because it's just intolerable. The situation is completely intolerable. It's not healthy, can be even dangerous. Sometimes the spouse kills the husband kills the wife and so on. So sometimes cutting complete relation is necessary. Fortunately, it's not most cases, but there are extreme cases. At the same time, sometimes the divorce comes because one doesn't have this quality, doesn't have control of the mind, doesn't have control of the senses. There's no austerity, there's no cleanliness, there's no satisfaction, there's no forgiveness. There's no forgiveness. You don't forgive the person. Huh? And so on. There's no mercy. There's not even mercy for your husband. There's no mercy for your wife. There's no truthfulness. So you can say, no, but bhakti, yeah, but if you're not, these are the quality of a bhakta, the quality of a Vaishnava. So if you don't apply any of this, you could say, how can you say bhakti is beyond? If we have bhakti, just like we read the other day, that the bhaktas, the real devotees have the qualities of the devatas automatically. So one may, if the people life are such a mess, relations such a mess, you may just say, okay, but there's a problem in their bhakti. Cannot just say all my relations in life are a mess, but my bhakti is superlative. It doesn't work like that.
Mm.
Now, there may be some cases, like, okay, even Srila Prabhupada was criticized by the God brothers, right? So many ways. Oh, you're doing this. Oh, you're doing marriages. A sannyasi shouldn't do wedding. And Srila Prabhupada writes about this in the books. Now, they're criticizing me for sannyasi, but, there's nobody else. I do it for the benefit of my devotees. So it's not that anybody criticizes you, oh, it means there's a problem to your bhakti. I'm not saying this. But if one does crazy stuff, which are not merciful, they're not forgiving, there's no control of the senses, there's no control of the mind, where is the bhakti? In other words, what is your bhakti? It's just a bhakti in the air. It's just an abstract thing. Oh, I have a lot of bhakti, but I live like an animal. So where is your bhakti? Right?
There's a question in the chat box. If one partner is, I don't know if it's a question or comment or whatever. If one partner is interested in sensual pleasures and the other is not so interested, and he or she is participating just to please the partner and keep harmony at home and is attached to partner, so will the other partner also get karma and will it be considered sense gratification? It's a question.
Well, I suggest there is very beautiful article by Matsya Avatar Prabhu, who is a guru in ISKCON. And I'm going to send you the link so you can study, because these are just not just like yes or no questions. Obviously, sometimes to help the partner, you got to accept things which are maybe not ideal, but in the whole equation, maybe it's better that you accept those things, even if they're not ideals. But give me a minute. I mean, somebody else can comment on that. I want to find this article so I can send you the link. Somebody else can comment.
Well, my answer is no. Is the person, will they get karma and will it be considered sense gratification? No, because everything is based on the intention. It's based on the motivation. If the motivation is to keep harmony, if the motivation is to keep the marriage together, if the motivation is to try to help the other person somehow manage their energies, and eventually the goal is to come higher, then no, it will not be a consequence. But at the same time, it may also be some purificatory karma, that that the person has to go through. And having said that, it's also important for the person to, like, for example, okay, my astrology teacher was here and we were discussing about planets and Venus, especially Venus. We were discussing. So he was speaking about how sometime, like, sexual pleasure is like, for example, sense gratification is like Venus, sex is Venus, money related, like cool vacations is Venus, wealth, like jewelry and all, like money, wealth, like thing like fancy luxury items is also Venus. So he was saying that if somebody is going through some sort of Venus transitory time, which was in my case, we were discussing because I was going through some Venus stuff. So he was saying that when money comes, if you don't accept it, like if people are giving you some luxury gifts or offering you some free vacation or whatever, some Venus related karma is knocking on your door, and you are rejecting it, then you're going to get sick. Meaning, if you don't accept it, you will become physically sick. So The point being, there may be some karma in the person's chart that they have to accept, say Venus or whatever, and if we don't accept it, it can turn into frustration or this and that. So better to gracefully accept that, okay, this is not something I would choose, but it has come on its own accord. And like Prabhu was saying earlier, if the husband wants to go to some beach in somewhere, Hawaii or whatever, and you wanted to actually go to Vrindavan, but then he says, look, I'm gonna feel so angry and upset, and either whatever, he may not say I'll divorce you, but he may say you're risking the relationship. Then you may go to Hawaii, you be on the beach, but you're still chanting, you're enjoying the beach. You're not like sitting there sulking and making, tamas guna. Oh, you brought me here, I didn't want to come. Not like that. Enjoy the beach. Think of Krishna in your heart. Think of Vrindavan in your heart. So same thing. Maybe if one partner likes hugs and whatever, so romance, you may not be so much into it, but take it, accept it as mercy of the Lord, and just thank the Lord for it. So Krishna is a person, he's not like some kind of ATM machine or military camp, boot camp or something where he considers, oh, anything, any romance is happening, then this person is a sense gratificatory guy, I will not give him bhakti. It's not like that. Krishna sees situation, and sometimes he wants you to also have some happiness or some pleasures of this life. It may not bring ultimate happiness, but some pleasurable karma is coming your way. Just embrace it, accept it, thank the Lord, and then move on. No, the Lord will not consider it as sense gratification. Anyway, that's my answer. And read this article for more information. And if Kanti Prabhu wants to conclude with anything.
Well, it's already time is up, but I shared in the chat. You can click right now. You read this article. I find a lot of wisdom, a lot of balance. And there are other articles which I didn't read, but I don't know. I mean, there must be something valuable. I don't know. I know this is very good. In fact, I translated it from Italian. So you can click on it before, because when you finish the goals, you can click on it, open that page, and see that there are a lot of resources. I can kind of guarantee this one, but I'm sure there are a lot of useful resources in this site, VaishnavaFamilyResources.com. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for the participation.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.